Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I make my homemade sauerkraut that I eat just about every day on my keto diet. You need just a few things to make sauerkraut. Obviously, you're going to need a cabbage. This one is just over 4 pounds. I also have a nice sharp knife and a mason jar with a plastic lid. Big bowl to put my cabbage in and massage it. Some sea salt, and I also like to add some chili peppers to it. I like a little spice to mine. Oh, and this is a weight that goes on top of the cabbage when you put it in the jar to keep everything under the water. And you don't have to have these weights. I used to try to use other things, and it just made everything a lot harder. So I finally broke down and got some of these from Amazon. You get a set of 5, and they are really handy. Make everything so much neater. I also want to point out that I cut a circle of cabbage. This is going to cover up the floaty things when I put all the cabbage into the mason jar, and then the weight will go on top of it. You don't have to use the circle of cabbage. You could use some parchment paper or wax paper, but most of the time I like to do that, and then when the sauerkraut is done, I just throw that circle out. Just about every culture has some form of fermented food in their diet. That's something that Americans don't usually have. So I decided that it would be a good idea to add sauerkraut to my routine, and it's also good for keto because obviously it's very low carb. Fermented foods are important because they're good for your digestion, and that's where your health starts, in your digestion. If your stomach isn't working properly, then you're not going to be healthy. You're not going to be able to get all the nutrients from your food. Fermented foods feed the good bacteria in your body, and it keeps me from getting bloated, and therefore I feel like my tummy is always flatter when I'm eating sauerkraut. And who doesn't want a flatter stomach? Now I'm going to start cutting up my cabbage, and the important thing is to make the pieces very thin. So I'm going to put them into my bowl here, and I like to add a little salt to the bowl as I go along, so the cabbage can start wilting, and I feel like it saves me a little bit of time at the end when I have to massage the cabbage. I just finished cutting up all the cabbage, and you can see it filled up this bowl. And this took me just under 10 minutes to do. And I have added salt as I was putting it in the bowl, and about 1 to 2 tablespoons. Some of the salt does get eaten up in the fermentation process. So now the next thing I need to do is to knead this with my hands, and I'm going to knead it for a total of 10 minutes. But after the first 5 minutes, I'm going to stop and add in the pepper, the hot pepper flakes, and this is the point where you can add other spices if you're making a different version of sauerkraut, like the South American version. So anyway, here we go. What you do is you just get in here, and you really want to squeeze it, and yes, it's going to start kind of going everywhere, but just kind of massage it. You're trying to get the juices to start flowing out of the cabbage, because it's going to need to be covered with that and probably some additional brine. And that's important to keep the air out of your sauerkraut while it's fermenting. So anyway, as I'm starting to massage this, it is starting to shrink a little. Well, I'm just going to keep going on that, and I'll check back with you in a minute. So I'm about halfway done kneading my sauerkraut, and you can see how much it's reduced in size already. At this point, I'm going to add my chili peppers because I like it spicy. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit in here. And then I'm going to continue kneading for another 5 minutes. This is what I have after 10 minutes of kneading. And I don't have very much juice in here. You can see just a little bit. So I made brine that I'm going to use at the end. And this is just a tablespoon of sea salt mixed in with 4 cups of water. So now I'm going to start packing my sauerkraut into this jar, and trying to do it so you can see. So what you need to do, of course I'm going to make a little bit of a mess while I'm doing this, is you want to pack it really tight because you have to get all the air out of the sauerkraut. So let's see. So as I'm going along, then I'm going to put my hand in there and press down really hard to try and compact it as much as possible. So I'm going to keep going. Yes, I'm making a mess. Oh well. Okay, so I will finish doing that, and then you can see what it looks like. Here's my jar after all the sauerkraut is put in, and this was just about the perfect amount. There's still enough room in here for my weight and to add some liquid, and this is the liquid that was left. It's not a lot, but might be almost enough. So I'm going to throw this in here now. And then I'm going to put in my little cabbage circle. Of course, you're not going to get all of the little floaties to stay down, but this helps a lot. So just press that down, and then I'm going to add my weight on top. And sometimes I even add more than one weight, depending on how much cabbage is in here. Keep everything under the water. Well, my dog is going off. Well, what can you do? I had to put him out, and he's still barking out there. Anyway, I'm going to add some more of this brine. I want to cover the weight, and I don't want to fill up the jar entirely because you need to leave some room because this is going to start bubbling and it's going to go over, explode over. So I'm just going to put enough in here to cover up the weight. But there's still at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches of room in the top. And the next thing you do is put on the lid, and actually you don't screw it on, just kind of set it on top, and that's mostly to keep things from crawling in it, like bugs or whatever. We don't want that. And then also you put it in a dish, because after it starts to ferment, then things will start running over the side, and it just keeps your countertop clean. And the last thing is to cover it with a clean towel and keep the sunlight off of it, also to prevent bugs from getting in there. And I leave it sit usually 7 to 10 days. And because it is summer in California, it's pretty warm, I'll probably only let it ferment for 7 days. So then I will just put it on my countertop away from the direct sunlight. And every day I'm going to check on it. I'm also saving the leftover brine. I'm putting this in the refrigerator because sometimes you need to add more as the process goes on. It's been 24 hours, and I'm going to check on the sauerkraut, see what's going on in here. So the liquid has risen all the way to the top, and there are a few bubbles. And that's just going to continue as the days go on. Let's see. I can't really tell, but I'm pretty sure that it has run over. Anyway, so I will just keep it covered and check back in a couple of days. Today is the halfway mark, so let's see what's going on in here. And on the bottom, there's some liquid that's overflowed. That's good. And let's see what's underneath the lid here. Okay, we got a lot of bubbles going on. Well, that's just what we want. So I'll check back later when it's done and show you what it looks like. This has been sitting here for 8 days, so it's ready now. A couple days ago I did have to add more brine to it, so let's see what it looks like today. Okay. Yeah, it's got some bubbles on top. Now all I have to do is stick my hand in there and remove the weight. And then I'm going to reach in and get the circle that was holding down the little floaty things and get that out of there. And that's it. Now it smells a little vinegary, which is the way it's supposed to smell. I'm going to put the lid on it and keep it in the refrigerator. It will keep in there for up to a year, I believe, and it will continue to ferment very, very slowly in the refrigerator. I want to show you how much liquid was in the bowl. It was just a little bit. And sometimes it gets a little mold in there, and that's okay. It won't hurt anything. All I did was just to wipe off the outside of the jar, and it's ready to go in the refrigerator. And I have a serving of sauerkraut here. This is about 1/4 of a cup, and that's pretty much all I usually eat when I have it. And like I say, I do try to have it every day. And one thing you have to remember is not to heat it. So if you do that, then you're going to kill the bacteria, and that kind of defeats the purpose of this whole thing. So I just, you know, I will put it on my plate. If my plate is hot, I will put it on top of some food that isn't as hot. And I try to eat it first before it heats up too much. But anyway, that's it. I hope you give this recipe a try. Coda, want to try some sauerkraut? Oh my gosh. He says, I'm usually a carnivore, but I'm going to give this a try. Well, I can't believe he's eating that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Have a happy day.